And we are live. What's going on YouTube Live? It's your boy Billy Wroe. Today is Wednesday. I'd like to welcome you to the first row. And if it is Wednesday, then you should know what time it is. It's time for your Wednesday word. That's Wednesday word. Jumping straight into it. Tonight's topic is learn the language. As always, with every topic, I like to share what I mean by my topic. So what exactly do I mean when I say learn the language? So I'm a big proponent of power being in the words that we use, whether it's with ourselves or with others, or even sometimes in the things that we're trying to accomplish. So when I say the term learn the language, what I mean is learn the language that is necessary to establish deeper connections with, whether it be other people, deeper connections within yourself, and deeper connections with your present and or your future success. So that's what I mean when I talk about learn the language. I tonight have 4 different tools, what I kind of use to help gauge and create this topic, what learning the language means to me. I'm going to share those four tools with you tonight. Hopefully they encourage you to help learn the language that you need to learn for what you need to accomplish in your life. So jumping straight into it, learn the language. The very first topic that I came up with when I was contemplating this particular topic, the first tool that I came up with when I was contemplating this topic was that not all language is verbal. And so language is this complex thing. I mean, if we just take what language is as far as the words that we use, I speak English. I know there's hundreds and hundreds of languages across the globe, but the language I speak is English. And knowing that even if I knew all the words in English, like every single word, all the nuances and how to properly apply them, my language and how I communicate with others is not simply made up of those words. So language is used. We use language. There's tone in language. There's body language in language. There's the amount of words we use in language. Also, there's a pace at which we speak language that all communicate different things that are inclusive of the words we are using. So for instance, I kind of have some notes here that I want to share. The first thing being volume of words. Volume of words kind of dictates when we're talking to somebody, the volume of words we use, the amount of words we use may dictate what our expectation is in the response that we're going to get back. So if I'm asking this very intricate and detailed question, to respond with a yes or no answer might not be sufficient enough information to really gauge whether you understood the question, to gauge whether your answer is a yes or no is appropriate to the question, so on and so forth. Tone, that communicates our intentions that we may have. If I have a loud tone and it's powerful and it may seem aggressive, so my intention may be received as aggressive. If I have a very soft-spoken tone and I tone it back and I don't really want to share, it may seem as timid. So our tone will sometimes communicate through our language what our intentions are. Our body language, what that may communicate is our current present state, our present mental state. Whether we, are slouched over and we look like we're defeated, we may have that defeated mindset, or we're sitting up straight and our chest is out and we feel like I feel like I got it today. That may show that we're confident and that we're ready to take on whatever challenge is being thrown at us. And then the last thing being our pace. That can communicate a sense of urgency, and pace can sometimes be confused with tone as well. When you hear like a monotone pitch, if it's like, the Dry Eyes commercial, I don't know if you guys remember those, but it was like, hey, today, this is what we're going to do. That's a combination of tone and pace. If the pace is slow, lethargic, uninviting, not energetic, it may make you feel like, well, there's really no sense of urgency to getting this information. So I probably won't have a sense of urgency when it comes to applying that information. So the first tool right off the back is that not all language is verbal. And the last part of that about language not being verbal is that our actions actually act as defining forces for the language that we use. So we may use, let's say I tell somebody, hey, I love you. Okay, what do my actions say? Because if I tell you I love you, but I mistreat you and I abuse you, which is the word abuse, I always like breaking it down, is the abnormal use of. If I abuse you or abnormally use you, then those actions don't really warrant love unless we both have agreed that that is what love is. So our actions, that is the key point of this tool, is our actions actually define and empower what language we use, regardless of what words we choose to use. Moving forward, the next tool that I came up with in regards to learning the language is a tool that kind of it touches on the base of be willing to make mistakes. But the tool is miscommunication is a part of the language learning process. Understand that miscommunication is a part of the language learning process, because as I said, I've been speaking English for at least 30 years of my life now. And I still misuse words at times. I'll input a word and I'm thinking of the right word maybe, but I'm speaking the wrong word. So you have to be willing to step out there and be willing to make those mistakes and have those miscommunications if you're going to learn language. It's very simple that sometimes it can be very simple, the miscommunication. Sometimes it's the difference between a period and a question mark. So I might say something like, I actually have something here. I might say something like, I will be successful. That's not a question when I state it like that. But if I look with the body language and all the other aspects of language, if I look and I'm like, I will be successful, now it becomes a question. So sometimes it's just a matter of the punctuation or the inflection of the voice, whether that's an internal voice or an external voice, the voice that we are speaking or using the language in. So that miscommunication aspect, be willing to error and make mistakes and use the wrong words and use the wrong the wrong tone sometimes and inflections when you're studying language and when you're looking to learn language, because what that will do is it'll allow you to say, okay, I'm going to make mistakes. Good. I got that part out of the way. I don't have to worry about that part anymore. But now that I know I'm going to make mistakes, I can forge ahead and be more, I want to use this word, more aggressive with the language that I use, or more intentional with the language that I use. The third tool that I came up with when it came to learning the language is expand your vocabulary. And so what do I mean by expand your vocabulary? I don't mean learn to use bigger words. I don't mean that. I don't mean, oh, well, if you use all these fancy words, I'm going to even make up a word, fancified words, then you're now smarter and your language is now more impactful and effective. That's not what I mean. But what I do mean by expanding your vocabulary is that if you don't know the language to use, this is regardless if you're interacting with people or if you're attempting to interact with success or you're pursuing success, if you don't know the language to use, then you are not in a position to be able to ask the questions because you don't have the information or you don't have the language to ask the appropriate questions. So that's what I mean by expanding your vocabulary. Expand your vocabulary so that you put yourself in a position to be able to ask the right questions to get meaningful and applicable answers. The other aspect of that is a lot of us can't know what it is to interact with somebody. If you live in the United States, at least, you probably by this point have spoken to somebody who does not speak English. And so if you're a native English speaker, you will find that if you go to another country where they don't speak English, yeah, they just don't speak English. It's not like, oh, well, you know, they'll understand what I mean. No, if I don't speak English, I don't speak English. And so it doesn't matter how slow you say the word in English. It doesn't matter how you move your hands really so much in English. English is English. And if they don't understand that, they're not going to be able to connect to help give you the response for the information that you're trying to get. And that works a lot in other areas of life. When it comes to my profession, I have to deal with Excel a lot. And in dealing with Excel, I deal with Excel automation, which on that side looks at coding, and coding is language. It's simply typing instructions into a screen so that the computer can read the instructions and know what to do. If I do not type in the right instructions, if I'm not expanding my vocabulary to be able to give it varying types of instructions, then the computer cannot translate what I want it to do, and it errors out and it says, okay, well, I'm going to do nothing. So that is the aspect of expanding your vocabulary. And also the last thing is that when you work to expand your vocabulary, what it does is it teaches you how to overcome adversity. It's easy to be like, well, this is hard and you're not understanding me, so I give up. That's easy. But when you're really pushing yourself, whether it's in a search engine, I don't care if you're in Google trying to search how to, bake a cake, it doesn't matter. As long as you're attempting to try and pushing to expand your vocabulary, that will inevitably give you the opportunity to say, okay, I overcame that solution. And if I can overcome that issue or that adversity, and if I can overcome that, then I can overcome the next, and I can overcome the next. And then what you start doing is you start applying some of the solutions from each part of the solution from all these other solutions you came up with, and inevitably end up expanding your vocabulary and finding out how to search, how to use the language on Google to find the things that you're looking for. The fourth tool that I came up with, and it's actually the fourth and final tool that I came up with when it comes to learning language. I think, man, I'm scared to say this, but I'm going to say this anyway. I think that this is probably the most powerful tool when it comes to learning language, is respect the power of language. We as humans have a very fortunate position that we are in. And that position is we are the narrators of our own lives, which means we are the authors as well of our own lives. So what we say, we typically will believe and we will typically act upon, because remember, our language is defined by our actions. So the power of our language is so significant that we as humans can literally encourage ourselves through words to take action. Example of this is if you're on a cliff waiting to jump into a body of water down below while you're on vacation, because you're like, oh, I'm going to do some cliff diving or whatever it may be that you want to do. You might get up to that cliff and have this sense of, oh, shoot, I'm mortal and I might die if I jump off this thing wrong. However, there's things where you can do where you'll be talking to yourself. Come on. There's times where I'm like, come on, Wroe, you got this. This is light work. This is nothing. You got this. There's other times where it's like, okay, I'm going to do it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I didn't do it. Okay. 1, 2, 3. I didn't do it. Okay. I got to be serious this time. 1, 2, jump. So the power of language is significant to the extent of whether you say you can do it or you say you can't do it. You either empower yourself to do it or you deflate yourself to not do it. There's times where other people will encourage you through language, through words that you understand, saying, come on, you got this, you can do this. You might be at the end of the marathon, dog tired, don't want to take another step, but you hear people cheering you on and motivating you to go forward. That is the power of language. The last part of that is that not only, again, does it have the ability to sway us to the ability of success or sway us to the ability of failure, it also has the ability to stick with us. And once you find the things that motivate you linguistically, internally, and you're able to glean onto those things, you then learn how to motivate yourself through almost anything: hard times, good times, bad times, sweet times, overweight times, whatever it may be. You learn how to motivate yourself through it, and it becomes less about what the language is around you and about more what the language is on the inside of you being spoken to you by that author and that narrator. So really quick, again, I want to go over the points that the tools that I shared tonight. The first tool when it comes to learning language is not all language is verbal. Remember, there's other aspects of language that make it much more complex. However, that complexity makes it much more meaningful to us and to others. The second tool is miscommunication is a part of the language learning process. You're going to make mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, then guess what? Your vocabulary is limited and you're not reaching your full potential in the first place. So be fearless on making mistakes. Be fearless about, hey, I might get it wrong, but I'm going to at least give it my best. The third thing, or the third tool that I came up with, is, again, expanding your vocabulary, not in the sense of the size of words you use or the advanced nature of the words that you use, but a sense in really taking ownership of figuring out how to overcome and how to bring in more language that will help get you to the place that you want to be in the present and in the future and with relationships. The fourth thing and the fourth tool is, again, respect the power of language. In the words of a famous superhero, I'm not going to say because of copyright infringement, but there's a power that you have inside that is yours to claim. So therefore, take that power, run with it, respect the language, the power of the language, and use the right language. So with all interstations, wow, I'm already done to tomorrow and yesterday. But with all Wednesday words, I like to share a personal story of mine, something that kind of helped me get to thinking about the topic, something that helped me create the content. And really, it's very interesting, this particular story, because I'm actually still in this learning of the language in this particular area. And so the story I thought about was my actual creation of the First Wroe network and what it has transitioned into and grown into, even in like a very short time on YouTube. However, before YouTube, I've been doing these videos for about 2 years on Facebook. So this is an area where I'm going to say I got it wrong. And then I'm working now to try to get it right when it comes to learning language. But it was about the mediocre expectation of the First Wroe. And I say it was a mediocre expectation is because I spent a lot of time linguistically contradicting myself. I would say things like, I want the First Wroe channel to be like a major influence in the growth and inspiration and self-development area, not just on YouTube, but in not just on the local United States, but around the world. And then I would say certain things to contradict that, like, oh, but I don't want to be famous. And so I'd be like, okay, well, I want this notoriety. I want this influence. However, I don't want what comes with those things. Fame comes with influence. And it's not in the sense of, oh, I'm a celebrity in TMZ, you can follow me, and paparazzi, you can follow me. It's not in the sense of that. But fame follows influence, because the fact that fame is simply, by definition, people talking about you and being aware of who you are. So other people knowing you creates fame. So if I say I want influence and I want to be this world-shaping, world-changing power, then I need to be able to accept that part of that comes with fame. Now, what you do with your fame, how you're, you're perceived through your actions in front of the camera, those things are the things that I'm really saying. I don't want to be like, strung out on drugs or waste my money doing something or be caught in some unethical type of situation and have a scandal behind me. Those are the things that I don't want. So I need to make sure that my language says I want fame, but I don't want to have negative fame. The other aspect is in the sense of the content that I create. I spent time minimizing my content to where, oh, I'm going to do this, this little First Wroe show, a little something, something, nothing big, nothing major. And so I'm saying I want something that's big and major and impactful and world changing and world disturbing. But then I'm saying little this, little content, little small, not meaningful, little something, something. So that language acts as a capacitor. It acts as a limitation to what I say that I want. And so what I've been doing as of late, really the beginning of this year and a little bit towards the end of last year, is starting to really be clear on, I don't want a First Wroe YouTube channel. I want a First Wroe YouTube network and eventually just a First Wroe network. And so when you start taking that language and go from channel on YouTube to network, your mind starts shifting and your actions start shifting to try to make the network come about versus trying to keep the channel alive. And I'm seeing this in the number of shows that I produce. So like I said, I've been doing Wednesday Words for over 2 years now. And in 2 years, that was all that I was doing. For 2 years, that was all that I was doing. And then when I decided that I wanted to go from a First Wroe channel to a network, all of a sudden I have a First Wroe Wednesday Word. I have a First Wroe Interstations, First Wroe Interstation panel. Yesterday, this past Saturday, I opened up a segment called What's Going On the First Wroe. There's now another content producer on the network who is producing Keeping It Real Estate. I have somebody else at the end of this month who will begin to drop their content, 2 different types of content. So I go from that mentality, that limiting language of, hey, channel, this is just a little thing that I'm doing, it's a little hobby, to network. And now all of a sudden I go from 1 to 7 different pieces of content in like 4 months. So this is what I like I said, this is an area where I kind of got it wrong and I'm really working to get it right. But as I make those shifts and as I make those changes in my language, I am seeing the shift and the changes in my actions, seeing now that I'm having business meetings with people instead of just like, hey, so what do you think about this content? Now it's very intentional. It's very agenda driven, itinerary driven. My time is very itinerary driven and calendar driven. And it's because of the fact that I have taken the time to learn the language of the success that I say I want in the present and in the future. And so now I'm applying the proper language, which is leading me to define it with the proper actions. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's Wednesday word, because this particular message really resonates and has really been on my heart and on my mind. So I'm glad that it has gotten the opportunity to get out. I hope it resonates with you, and that you begin to apply the correct language for the things that you want in your life. With that, I do want to share a couple of things that are coming up. As many of you may know, I typically on Tuesdays do intersations. However, there was a scheduling conflict this past Tuesday, yesterday. So tomorrow's will actually be the intersation for the week. That will be Thursday, February 7th at 7 p.m. It will be on single parenting. That will be with Selena Jackson. So tune in for that. Watch it live. Contribute to the conversation. Be a part of that. And because really the intersations are an aspect for or an area or a piece of content that has been created to help you grow, myself grow, and the person that's being inner-sized, we'll call it, grow as well. So definitely stay tuned or tune in for that. If you're able to tune in live, watch it live. If you watch it via the replay, we'll watch it via the replay. Do whatever you got to do to get that growth. And then the second thing is a major announcement, a major announcement. The first thing was a major announcement too, but the second thing is a major announcement as well. And that is, if for many of you who may have tuned into the intersation that I had on self-preservation in relationships, that was with Wroe, my big brother. He is actually going to be releasing his book, Modern Day Mentor, and that will be released on April 30th this year. So that's coming soon. So what I want to do is, matter of fact, let me do this right now in the live chat, and I will also include this in the description. I'm including an email address. If you are interested in pre-ordering a book called the book called Modern Day Mentor. What this is a book that literally is like a mentor in your hand. If you're interested in pre-ordering that book, please use the email address below and reach out. For those who do pre-order the book, they will obviously get the book before it hits retail stores. They'll get it less than the retail price. That book will be autographed for you. And what else is there? It'll be an autographed copy. Oh, and you'll get free shipping. So those are the announcements that I have, but I'm really looking forward to this book coming out. Again, it will be released on April 30th, Modern Day Mentor. You're going to hear me speaking a lot more about this until it comes out. So that way you can see and have the opportunity. You can never say I didn't tell you that something was there for you to glean. And that's really what I want this network to be about, is about not just coming to you with live content or pre-recorded content, but giving you substantial tools that will empower you to grow and empower you to think deeper and stronger about what you want out of your life with this short time that we have here. So as always, with every Wednesday word and every video that I do, if you like this video, please share it. If you share it, please like it. I'm happy to engage with you in the comments below. Check out in the description. You'll see a link to the email address to be able to pre-order Modern Day Mentor. But I just can't tell you how excited I am for the things that are going to grow, not only in my life, but in your life, as you learn how to apply this language tool to your life and apply it very well. So that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. I want to thank you guys for sitting on the first row with me. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow live on the first row. Until then, one love, peace, and God bless.